Good afternoon, everyone. And we are reconvening. So I will begin with our Indigenous territorial acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, land on which we are broadcasting from today, is the land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We also acknowledge the deep presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. There's no moment of reflection today. Council, does anyone have a pecuniary interest that they need to disclose? Seeing none. I need someone to approve the minutes of the January 30th council meeting. Moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Councillor Roach. All in favor? Thank you for raising your arms really high, Councillor Roach, and setting a good example for us all. You can tell who listens. Thank you. The consent motion, we have a number of items in the consent motion. Does anyone have anything they want to take out of the consent motion? Seeing none, I will need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Bodley and seconded by Councillor Freeman. All in favor? That is unanimous and approved. Thank you. All right, that brings us to staff reports. The Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Grant second intake. So we'll welcome Scott Prevost and Marcel Emily Humelnink. Apologies for probably getting your last name wrong. Over to both of you.
Hello, I'm Marcel Emily Humelniku, and since this is my first time addressing council, the new council, please let me take a moment to properly introduce myself. My name is Marcel, and my pronouns today are he and him. I am bigender male and female, so some days I am Emily, pronouns she and her. With me in general, you may default to Marcel, he and him. And on those days that I'm Emily, I will let you know. Thank you. So we've brought forward some exciting grant opportunities here. We don't actually have a presentation in that all of the relevant information is included in the report. However, Scott and I are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome to the new term of council. I didn't realize this was your first time appearing before us. Thanks for letting us know. Council, any questions on this grant, the second intake that we're doing? Just for posterity's sake, could you maybe just explain exactly what the purpose of the grant would be? Should we be so fortunate as to this to be approved? Could you just give us a brief explanation of what it's for?
Absolutely, through you, Chair, to the council. I'm Scott Prevost. It's nice to meet everyone and welcome. I'm happy to be here. I'm the Energy Program Manager for the city. So this Green and Inclusive Community Buildings, it's a federal government grant issued through Infrastructure Canada. So a little bit of background. We applied to the first intake of this grant program in the summer of 2021, and we were successful with that grant application. So that's a $3 million energy and accessibility retrofit that's planned for Albert McCormick. So this is the second intake. They've got, I believe, $1.5 billion or up until 2027 to issue these funds for these types of programs. So the program is geared at community buildings, so libraries, recreation facilities, anything that's open to the public and community, as opposed to administrative buildings. And hospitals and schools and education, those are excluded from the program. But it's looking for projects that increase energy efficiency, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase accessibility, and also increase climate resiliency. So we put together these three grant submissions at our 3 recreation facilities that address the accessibility, climate resilience, and greenhouse gas and energy efficiency. And when we speak energy efficiency and greenhouse gas, those usually go hand in hand as we move forward with our roadmap upon electrification and our measures to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 and 80% by 2050.
Thank you very much. That's helpful and has prompted a question from Councillor Freeman.
It's not a question so much. I just want to make a comment as finance chair, if that's okay. A couple of things. So we as a city, Tim Anderson and a few others of us, Councillor Hanmer and I had provided a delegation to the minister at AMO this past summer with regard to this grant and that we wanted to get information on it. Sandy Little had prepared the briefing note for us and was also present in the meeting. If anyone wants to see that briefing note, I'm sure that Sandy can send it out. From a finance perspective, and I'm going to look to Philippa in case I get this wrong, but essentially, if we are successful with this grant, it will essentially use up our reserves as it relates to our asset management for buildings. And so I wanted to get some information because I knew that there was a pretty good return on investment for this. So based on the information that I have, the return on investment is forecast to be about $500,000 annually. So it would be about a 16-year ROI. But after that, we'd be able to look at using that ROI to backfill what we're using out of this reserve fund. So I just wanted to make council aware of that and that there might be some pressures on the 3-year budget as well as it relates to that reserve fund for us to think of some different ways to backfill it. Philippa, did you want to add more to that?
I think you did very well, Councillor Freeman. But yes, essentially there would be some future savings that would be a result, of course, of the transformational projects that would certainly be built into future budgets. And in the meantime, during the 3-year budget, we would look to at least lessen the gap that has been created as a result if these projects are successful, in order to allow facilities to keep moving forward with some of their other works that are going to be in progress soon. So it's going to be a combination of things, but absolutely looking forward towards the future savings that will really help from a budgeted perspective.
Did you have any follow-up?
No, I think I just wanted to make council aware of that so that as we make this decision, we know how that reserve fund is going to play out and some of the add-on decisions that are associated with this.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other comments or questions? I would just say that, well, I guess my question would be, should we not get all of the grant that we're requesting? Do you know, like if we had a partial amount, even half, like how would we proceed is it sort of all or nothing, or are there parts, and which parts of the program or projects would we go ahead with?
We would, to my knowledge, they just issue the full amount. I haven't heard of any partial awards of grants talking with other municipalities. So it would be either the full amount that we'd applied for, or it would be nothing.
Okay, so it's all or nothing. Everyone, please cross your fingers that we can get this, because this is a big request for us and will have really, really big impacts for us. So federal government, anyone connected to it, if you're listening, we, assuming that we're going to, council's going to approve this, this is a really important one, because as you said, it would help us to reduce our greenhouse gases by 1/3. So I think it's really, really critical. So having said that, I need a motion to, okay, thank you, Councillor Freeman, and seconded by Councillor Hamner. All in favor? All right, that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much to you both for your work on this, and thank you to Sandy Little as well for the work that all of you have done on submitting that grant, and we will look to hear back from you, and hopefully we'll be successful. Okay, so now we're moving to the workshop portion of this. I think we're all interested and excited about this. It's the strategic planning workshop, our second workshop with council, and I'll turn the floor over to Sandy Little to introduce this facilitated workshop. Welcome again, Sandy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. I am really excited to be here today because this means that we're doing our second of 3 workshops with Council in terms of the development of our next strategic plan. So the project is moving along very rapidly. We're just coming off the heels of our last community engagement session that was held last Thursday. We've been having some amazing conversations with members of our community. So of course, as part of that overall engagement is our community engagement, staff engagement, and of course, our council engagement. I will be handing things over to Deloitte to lead you through this session. We have about an hour. I know that the weather is getting kind of dicey out there, but we have about an hour with you. So I will leave you in their very capable hands, but very excited also to announce that our next community engagement session will be held on April 1st, and it's a free public skate at Rim Park. So I want to thank Council for that recommendation, and we've gone ahead and done that with a targeted focus on youth engagement as part of that session. Look for more promotions kind of coming out in the coming weeks, but it will be held April 1st from 2 to 4 p.m. at Rim Park. So I want to thank Council for that recommendation, and without further ado, I will pass it off to Deloitte.
Welcome to you both. And I've just on the weather. We're all here for council meeting tonight, so there's no we're here whether it's snowing or not, so you don't need to rush on our behalf.
Sounds great. Well, thank you all for having me, Mayor, councilors. Thank you for having us here. My name is Samaya Antani, and I'm a manager in our strategy and business design practice in our Toronto office of Deloitte. And I have my colleague Tassine Rana here as well, who I believe you may have met before. So thank you for having me here today. Really appreciate the opportunity, and really looking forward to having a good, fulsome discussion on the strategy and vision, and guiding principles in particular. And so I will do a bit of talking for a little while, but then a lot of it's going to be you and your input and having a discussion amongst yourselves as well in terms of what some of the core concepts are that you want to make sure we capture. So I'll start here, but again, please stop me if you have any questions as I go through this. So we've got 2 sessions planned. We've got one today and one in about 3 weeks or so, where we're going to together talk a bit about what we define as strategy. We're gonna talk about what the city of Waterloo would like to have as their mission, and then we'll talk about that today, and we'll get into vision and guiding principles at the next session in about 3 weeks' time. I did want to just make sure I mentioned the overall objectives here. I want to make it clear that we will align today on what some of the core definitions are of strategy and some of the core concepts that we talk about. And I just want to draw your attention to objective 2, in that really the goal of today is to align on key inputs into what the City of Waterloo's mission will be. Following that, we'll have the vision and guiding principles conversation next time. But the key word there really is the key inputs. This is the beginning of a journey that you're going on. They're exciting conversations, they're good conversations to have, they're impactful conversations, but just wanted to set the tone that we likely will not get to a final mission today. It's more about understanding what are the core concepts, what's resonating with you that you'd like to include as part of the mission. And then it'll be up to us, Sandy, to take that away and actually come back and really give you, based on what we've heard, here's what we think a mission might look like, and get your input there as well. So I know an hour is not a long time, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware that, the goal is not to get to a final mission. The goal is to get to the core concepts and really what's resonating with you so that we can take that away. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions on that. Okay.
You can continue. I don't see any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so we can start off. I know that I think you all received this in advance, so you would have read through this, but maybe we'll just spend a couple of minutes just going through what we define as a strategy at Deloitte. And so when we're thinking of it from a municipal government perspective, it's really about, and really any perspective, it's about that strategy being an integrated set of choices. So it's not what you're doing necessarily. But it's about what are you doing, what are you not doing, what are the choices you're making along that journey. And so and that'll effectively and efficiently address the needs of your residents and your stakeholders. And so that's kind of how we define it. How we get there is, quite a long journey. And so as I mentioned, this is the first step in that journey. And so before you understand what choices you're going to make, you first have to decide, well, what are we trying to achieve? What is the city trying to achieve? What are our aspirations or goals? And part of that is the vision and guiding principles that we'll have a discussion on both today as well as in 3 weeks or so. From there, you then have to make those choices around, well, where are you going to focus? Where are you going to focus your efforts? How are you going to deliver value to the residents of Waterloo? And then the last few pieces around what does that mean in terms of initiatives and what you actually want to do to make sure you're accomplishing those goals and you're actually delivering what you started out to deliver. So we're really focusing on that first pillar. And there's obviously work being done separately on the strategic plan that addresses more and more of these pillars as you go along. So again, I'll pause to see if there's any questions. Mayor or councilors, any questions?
Any questions? Oh, you're doing a great job so far.
Okay,
No
thank you very
questions.
much. Perfect. So as I mentioned, the three core pieces we're going to be talking about over the 2 sessions. So mission, and what we're going to be talking about today, is really how you're going to pursue your future state and really the fundamental purpose of the city of Waterloo. What is it that you want to deliver to the residents of Waterloo? The vision, which we'll get into next time, is really around the why of the government, right? It's a compelling, ambitious future state. So what are you really aspiring to be? What are you aspiring to do, again, for the citizens, for the residents? And then finally, guiding principles is really how you as a council, how the city in general, what are those values or those guiding principles that you'll put in place to make sure you're headed towards that mission and vision that you're going after. So as I mentioned, we're going to go through these conversations. We won't get to articulate exactly what each of these are, but we'll understand what's important to you, what's resonating with you, what are your core concepts that you want to make sure are covered. Any questions there?
Seeing none.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so why don't we get into our topic for today? So we're going to be talking about, again, the mission for the city of Waterloo. And so before we get into that, again, I know you've received this in advance, but just to recap it a little bit, really the important is on the left side there, what makes for an impactful mission statement. And so, it should convey the core purpose of the government of the city of Waterloo. It should be concise, easy to understand, and it should be something that really stands the test of time. It's enduring, right? I know part of what we had asked you to do in advance was take a look at what has changed since the last mission statement, right? So to think through what has changed, where are we headed, where is the city headed, and therefore what should our mission cover in order to deliver on that. We provided some examples there on the right, Cambridge, City of Guelph, Coquitlam. And so again, you can see they convey the purpose, they're concise, and they're enduring. Those are really the key concepts. And just as food for thought as well, we know there's obviously some great work that had been done a few years ago on the current mission statement. And so again, just so you have it kind of when you're thinking about what you're going to do going forward, the current mission statement was provided as well, which is, Corporation of the City of Waterloo is committed to supporting sustainable growth, equity, and an inclusive, vibrant community through the delivery of service excellence. We are supported in this effort through a team of volunteers, staff, and elected officials that share a commitment to fiscal responsibility, healthy and safe workplace, effective engagement, and personal leadership. So that's what you had before. Okay, so what we're going to do now, actually, sorry, I'll pause there to see if there's any final questions, Mayor or anyone else.
Any questions? Anyone? No. Just a comment that the City of Waterloo's current mission statement's quite a bit longer than the 3 examples that you provided.
Yes.
And just wondered if you wanted to provide any thoughts on that.
Yeah. I would say that probably work on the conciseness. Remember, that was one of the first kind of principles we talked about in terms of what makes for a good mission statement. And so, yeah, I would say though, it does talk a bit about it does stand the test of time, and we look at some of sustainable growth, equity, inclusive. I mean, those are still terms I'm sure that resonate today. They're still terms that may be even more important than they were, a few years ago when this was done. So I think it does hit on some of the kind of core principles we talked about in terms of what makes for a good mission, but it could certainly be a little bit more concise, and we'll work with you to make sure that we do that going forward. So,
What's that?
okay, perfect. So then what we'll do now is actually an activity. And so what we'll have you do, I think several of you have already logged in, but if you haven't, we can talk about that. But essentially, I want you to think about, what you had put down in advance. If you had a chance to do the pre-work, pre-read, whatever it might be, we'd given kind of an activity page, and really ask you to think through what has changed since the last time this exercise was done, and what are some of the core concepts that you want to bring forward from either the example statements you looked at, from what you'd looked at in terms of what's really important to you moving forward, or what's changed in the last few years, and really answer 2 questions from there. So we'll start with really identifying what are some of those core concepts that resonate you, that from either the example mission statements, the current mission, that you'd like to bring forward to the renewed mission. So what is it that you really want to make sure is part of the renewed mission? So we'll start there, and then if we have time, we'll actually think about maybe some draft mission statements as well. Any questions on that before we dive in? Okay, great. So I think you all have on your table, or you've already logged in the link to it's a Klaxoon. It's just a website we use to kind of capture input. So what I'll do is I'll just go on here, and you should get to a point where when you put that in, you're able to put in. It'll ask you to either don't click on obviously the Deloitte single sign-on. If you click on a different way to log in, it'll ask you to put your email in. You can put your first name, last name, and click join, and it should allow you to access the board. But please let us know if there's any issues.
Is everyone logged in, Council, or everyone's logged in? Okay.
And I already see people are well ahead of me here. So what I'll ask you to do that before you just start putting in, just to keep things, making sure we're keeping things concise and contained, if you maybe want to start with maybe what are your top 3 kind of core concepts that you want to make sure make it to the mission, and then we can have a discussion on that, and obviously if anything's missing at that point, we can certainly add to it. So what we'll do is we'll give you a few minutes, we'll populate the board, and then we'll have a discussion on that.
Sorry, through the chair, I just wanted to make sure, is everyone familiar with how to add the sticky notes, or?
Apologies, yes, I should have covered. Thank you. So you just click on the plus sign over here, and you can put in your idea. It'll track whose idea it is, and so you can use whatever color stick you'd like, and then just move it over to the board.
Do you need, okay, we were getting a request for help here.
Oh.
Anyone else? Council? Oh, you have a question. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
Through you, Mayor McCabe. I just wanted to clarify, are we working on what we like from the current mission statement, or are we wanting to create something for the new mission statement?
It's more about those are more just kind of food for thought. It's
okay.
Now thinking to yourself,
So
what are the key concepts that you'd like to make sure come out in the current mission statement?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And how long do you want us to work on this?
As I mentioned, once you've done your top 3, maybe just you can let us know, and then we can give you a few minutes, 3-4 minutes. If we need longer, that's okay. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is 1 more minute good for you, Council? And just also a reminder that this is all streaming live because this is a council meeting. Okay, so that's the minute up. Anyone else need any more time? Are we good? Okay.
Great, thank you. So maybe I'll just play back a little bit what I'm seeing here, and then I want to make sure to open up the floor to see, if anyone wants to talk about what they put up there, and we can have that conversation. So obviously, seeing a lot around, equity, diversity, inclusiveness, which, it makes a lot of sense. It's obviously at top of mind, and it's something that we want to make sure is included there. Sustainability, we're seeing that as well, right? Climate sustainability, sustainable growth. There's a piece around fiscally responsible growth as well. So sustainable growth, fiscally responsible growth, a lot around building that community feel, that community focus. I meant you see something around responsible open communication, leadership. So there are clearly some themes that are coming out of this, some key pieces that we want to make sure get included in the mission. But I'll open it up to see if anyone, Mayor, councillors, anyone wants to potentially talk a bit about what they put up there, so we can have that discussion.
Open to you, Council. Does anyone want to talk about the ideas that they put up as was just stated? Who wants to start? Go ahead. Oh, I thought it. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hamner. Wasn't sure if your hand was up.
Sorry, it didn't come as high as it should have. Thank you. It was just interesting. I don't have a comment to explain what I put up there, but it's interesting how the groupings are coming together and almost a bit of a continuation, but a move forward from where we were with our last round for the strategic plan. So it's great to see the inclusion, diversity, equity, climate change, forward focus, community, that whole neighborhood feeling coming through again. So just a comment.
Great, thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, I support what Sandra's saying, and I also, just from my own perspective and my own experience in volunteering in the community, that community connection and welcoming to newcomers is incredibly important. And it's the piece where newcomers feel that they are welcome and they belong, but there's also an alternate piece where, or not alternate, but the piece that fits with that, where the community is welcoming. So I think that that's a really important perspective to consider, and how those two pieces work together.
Great, thank you. Councillor Freeman.
Through you, Mayor McCabe. Some of the things I see here is also some of the conversation that we had around the table when we did our budget. So we were focused on climate change initiatives and how to invest in that. We were focused on fiscal responsibility and recognizing that some people have fixed incomes, and that we were trying to balance a tax increase against individual realities. So I see that fiscal responsibility piece here, but then I see the innovation piece as well, in terms of trying to think a little bit differently about how we do our core business. So I see a lot of those pieces in this mission statement that align with some of the work that we've done so far.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Vasek.
Yeah, I just wanted to note a couple of thoughts I had about inclusion and how inclusion, like theory, is less about making sure that people come to us or come and meet at the dominant center, but that inclusion is really about having many different spaces, many spaces of difference. So inclusion is not necessarily unity. We're all getting along nicely, but on a particular way that we should be doing things, how we've always been doing things, but really highlighting that difference and that we may be moving ahead differently than we have before. And around the vibrancy piece, I still think that's important, and I think it's particularly important if we think about it through a COVID recovery lens. So what do we need as a community to get out there, to reconnect, to rebuild, and rebuild relationships? Not necessarily, I mean, building is a city's business a lot of the time, but what do we need to rebuild our relationships?
Thank you, Councillor Vasek. Councillor Bodley.
Thank you, through Mayor McCabe. So, I just wanted to highlight there was I put in my top three. The fourth one didn't make it onto this list, which I guess is unfortunate, but I just wanted to speak to it. Is I liked, which Councillor Freeman referenced as well too. I think people look to the city of Waterloo to be innovative. We are like a technology city, an education city. I think people are looking for innovative solutions to problems that we're facing, and I think a little bit of that is around risk taking, perhaps even as well too, trying things that other cities maybe haven't tried, being willing to make mistakes in the name of innovation. So I did want to highlight that. And then for me, one of the things that I really liked was the idea that we are not necessarily just looking at the needs of current residents, but like a lot of the decisions that we make are decisions that will impact residents who may not yet live here in the city of Waterloo, and so having to look well into the future. So I see that that's captured here as well too, which is good. Just wanted to highlight those comments.
Thank you, Councillor Bodley. And Councillor Wright.
So just building on, thank you through you, Chair, just building on what Councillor Bodley was just describing or framing. I'm kind of drilling down into the effective engagement part of the existing current mission statement, and also in the context of this this post ongoing pandemic, wherever we are in the pandemic. Just that maybe we want to be more descriptive about what effective engagement actually is. So just thinking through that through the lens of everything that has changed over the last term of council, and it was a tremendous amount of change, and thinking deeply about what it means for people to participate and engage and collaborate and innovate within our city context. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. Thank you. We'll turn it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. So through the mayor to councillors, I think heard some great conversations around it. And I like to see that there's clear alignment amongst the councillors and the mayor, of course, on what some of the key concepts are. I think Councillor Bodley brought up a great point in terms of, future focus is a key part. It has to stand the test of time, right? It's going to last, call it 3 to 5 years, and so. I guess as we think about, where Waterloo was when the last mission statement was made as compared to today, obviously a lot of changes happened, COVID being the big one. Something like that you obviously cannot anticipate, but if we think forward, do we feel that, the core concepts we've captured here will be the ones that the council and the city would want to make sure are included, call it 3 to 5 years from now, if you think about where the city is headed, and if is there anything else that perhaps is not captured on here that would need to be, if you're thinking a bit more future focused. And Mayor, I'd like to please bear back to you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
off.
No, that was my.
I was just anticipating questions or comments from council. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done. I was done. No problem.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Vasek.
I'm not entirely sure if this fits in a mission anywhere, but like we want a city where people can like call it home. And right now we don't, nowhere has a city where we can call it home in a really safe and comfortable way because we all have an affordable housing crisis. So I'm not entirely sure how it fits here, but none of us has said it. And so I just wanted to bring it up because it's, aside from sustainability and the climate emergency, I think affordable housing is our next sort of basic need that we're not meeting.
It's Mayor, if I just may respond
No,
to
go
Councillor
ahead.
Bassick.
You
Yeah,
could-
so through
yeah.
the Mayor to Councillor Bassick. Yeah, I think, you can add to that. You can add to this still. So if you feel that there's something, I was going to bring that up actually, if there's something missing that you feel, was not captured when everyone put their top three, like we're able to, you can add some more here. And I think to your point, there's something around perhaps affordability more broadly. And then of course, the big piece of that would be obviously the affordable housing, piece there. So thank you for that. Mayor, I'll pass it back to you if there's any other councillors.
Oh, sorry, thanks. One of the things that I think looking future focused, I think that exists in Waterloo, but maybe should be included in a mission statement is, something around like the caring, compassionate community, and which can mean lots of things to lots of different people. So, and looks lots of different ways, and but I think something that kind of captures that, I think is important as well. But that I'm a bit surprised I don't see that on here. I mean, I didn't put it up myself, but.
Yeah, so Mayor, thank you for that. Again, we can continue to add something on here. So if you feel there's something missing, feel free, one of the councillors, the Mayor yourself would like to add that on.
Great. Anything else, Council? No? Okay.
Okay. So again, just to recap, again, I think we're seeing some good kind of collection around sustainability, the equity or the affordability piece we're talking about now, forward thinking, fiscally responsible. So, again, these on their own are not obviously a mission, but when you think about where Waterloo would like to be, these are the types of pieces that you want to make sure are included there. So, this is a great start to this conversation. I think again, is there anything else I'm going to like to contribute here before we potentially move on? Because I think as next part, what we might start to do is think through, well, what might that mission statement look like? And start to think about drafting that potentially. We'll give each of you an opportunity to do so. But before we get there, is there anything else? Again, Mayor, I'll pass it back to you, councillors. Anything else we want to just make sure is captured here before we do that?
Could I just ask whoever's controlling it, there's near the bottom to the left, there's a blue piece that's mostly covered. If you could just pull that out. Okay, thank you. Oh, and then there's one under, if you go midway up, almost the care and compassion. Yeah, that one. Okay, just wanted to make sure these are uncovered. Thanks.
No problem. And apologies, I was clustering them a little bit as you guys were
Okay,
putting them
yeah,
in, just
well,
so I could,
yeah, I just couldn't.
yeah,
I
no.
just couldn't read what was on that blue one. All I could see was racist, and I don't think that's really what was intended.
Yes.
I just thought we needed to pull that out. Any other comments, Council? Okay, back to you.
Okay, great. So, all right. So you've seen kind of, and thank you, Mayor. And so you've seen up here what the core concepts are. I think again, everyone here is there's some alignment in terms of what needs to be included here. Maybe what we can do actually now is actually start to think about what that mission statement will look like. So again, I don't think by the end of this we'll come to complete alignment from all 8 councillors or 7 councillors and the mayor here in terms of what that final mission statement will be. But I think we can start to get your inputs on what that might be. So we'll give you a bit of time, and perhaps what you can do is I'll shift the board over, and if you just actually scroll your board over to the right, you'll see another board here. And I think for this one, we'll give you a bit more time to think this through. You may have already done it as part of your kind of pre-work coming into this, but we'll give you a bit more time and just one sticky, one mission for each of you to say, what do I think, or what would you think would propose as the draft mission statement for the city of Waterloo? you've seen the core concepts that need to be included. Now, again, you don't have to cover everything, but cover what's kind of most important to you. And, we'll go from there. So we'll give you a bit more time. And if you could each just put one sticky on what you think the draft mission statement should be for the city of Waterloo. And then we'll have that discussion on what people put, and maybe we'll have each of us present that. So.
Okay, if we give council about 5 minutes, does that sound fair? Okay,
Sure, and we can check in there, Mayor, at that point.
Sure.
If people need more time.
okay, thank you.
And just while you're doing that, I'll just scroll over to the left here so you can see what everyone had, what our output was in the previous conversation to maybe help you in the next one. Just checking, are folks having trouble adding another sticky to? Okay, we may actually, we've backup for this. We may just switch the board, so we may just give you a handout, a new piece of paper that you can maybe just go to a different board, and we're able to, we'll be able to put on there. You'll be able to put the stickies on there, on that one. So do you want to hand that out? Apologies. You can still see them up here, but you can flip to the next board. It should seamlessly log you into the next one if you've already, because you're already into this one board. So it should be hopefully pretty simple. Please let us know if there's any issues.
Do we need about one more minute and then can we call it? Good? Okay, one more minute. Sorry, Julie, what's the email to send it to? Info clerks?
Clerk info, so CLERKINFO. Yeah, and then we can pull that up. Yep, at waterloo.ca. We'll just switch over. We'll take control of the podium for a moment just so that Rick can open up a Word document. And Rick, you're able to paste those.
I think we should, just in interest of time, send in what you have. Finish your work, council. Send in what you have. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just copy and paste these over. Give me 1 second here. I do notice we have 9. So did someone post twice? Okay, no problem. D- d- Okay. We have everyone up here now. So let me just blow this up a little bit. All right, so instead of me reading these off, what I was thinking was, Mayor, maybe start with you or one of the councilors, but maybe read off what you have there and why that was the mission statement you chose. And so Mayor, I'll pass it off to you, and we can go councilor by councilor.
Okay, great, thank
Yeah.
you. Mine is globally recognized, future-focused municipal leaders serving residents in a sustainable, innovative, and equitable manner. So I use those words, although as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking what I think is missing is there's sort of any sort of sense of real community building or enjoyment. So I think that's something that could be worked on. But in terms of what I did put down, I use words like globally recognized because I think that's very aspirational for us. Some people in Waterloo and Waterloo region, talk about us being globally recognized for a few different things. I certainly think we're a small-ish city, small to mid-sized city that punches certainly far above its weight. So I think that's very aspirational to be globally recognized for a number of different things, including being leaders in the municipal sector. As I said, sustainability is really important to me. I think the innovative pieces, we're known as a tech community, but I think we're also from our nonprofits and other businesses and other aspects of our society here are also very innovative. So that's not solely focused on just our tech community. We've had we've got CG here and organizations like Kids Ability that are very innovative in their approach to the work they do and the services they provide, and places like things like Project Plowshares, I think, started in Waterloo. So it's innovation in its sort of biggest form. But I think the equity piece is also something that's very important to us, from particularly around the reconciliation work that we are doing and the diversity work that we are doing as staff and council and as a community.
Great.
So do you want me to just start
Yeah.
to go down? Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll turn it
whichever-
over to, or does everyone want to pick mine apart or improve it?
We'll,
What's that? Correct my homework. No, over to Councillor Bodley. Well, we'll go to my left.
Like
and then
Mayor
to my right.
Jaworski's back. I put meeting the needs of current and future residents in a sustainable and equity-focused manner. I just hearkening back to our previous mission statement, and there's just always this desire to wordsmith it to a place where it gets everything that we really wanted in there, and then it sort of loses its oomph, I guess. So I was trying to be real tight with the messaging, but I recognize that then now I took out innovative, which is something that I had talked about last time too. So I struggled meeting the needs. I don't really like that, but that's what I put. Service delivery is tricky because delivering services is hard to talk about in the context of future residents. But yeah, for me, the two biggest focuses for the city, from my perspective, should be on sustainability focused and equity focused, and so those were the two things that I really wanted to highlight there. Yeah, I like Mayor McCabe, though. Good job.
Thank you. Good job to you too. And we'll go over to Councillor Hamner.
Oh, she's the mayor is mixing it up, going back and forth. All right. I like it too. Lots of good comments by my colleagues on theirs. The one that I'll highlight, because a lot of us have innovative fiscal responsibility and growth, sustainable growth. But the one thing for me is communities. We are one city as a community. However, we are made up of multiple communities, and so reflecting the diversity of what we are. So the vibrant communities to me is something I'd like to see us capture in whatever we end up with. But I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. Did you want to read your whole one? Because did you read the whole thing?
I can read my whole one. Driving innovative, fiscally responsible, and sustainable growth, supporting our inclusive and vibrant communities.
And over to you, Councillor Wright.
This is ping pong. Thank you, Chair. So mine was Waterloo is a future-ready community, serving its residents through collaborative and inclusive opportunities while maintaining accountability and excellence in service. This is really just a bunch of words, hoping that somebody else would come along and do the poetry. But what I was focusing on was future-ready, just because the future is so dynamic and is full of lots of surprises and uncertainty. So there's some stuff that we know is coming our way, and there's always stuff that we don't know is coming our way. And then just the idea of serving residents, and that the opportunities are collaborative and inclusive. So getting at those ideas of equity and where we can create participation, and then just going down into the accountability and excellence that we want to try to achieve. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And over to you, Councillor Roach.
Thank you. On the previous board, there were about 40 comments, and they were all excellent. But I thought it all boiled down to making it a very livable city. A city that you really want to live in. And there's 4 things that I wanted to emphasize in that. So as I put, Waterloo will be recognized as Canada's most livable city, known for its innovation, inclusion, economic stability, and climate responsibility. I thought those were making a city livable, but I wanted to highlight those 4 items. Thank you.
Thank you. The livability and vibrancy was something I missed in mine, so excellent. Councillor Freeman.
Through Mayor McCabe, mine are the 2 working together to create a sustainable, equity-focused city, and the other one is to serve the public. And I really like Councillor Hanmer's comment about communities. So I think if I were to rewrite this, I would be, and I also like the comment about future ready or livable. So I think I might be inclined to change the language to something like working together to create a future-ready, innovative, sustainable, equity-focused community instead of city. I would drop the word city and change it to community. But I was really trying to narrow it down. I agree with Councillor Bodley. I think we were trying to be everything to everyone in the last mission. And I was also trying to make sure that we spoke to the fact that we work together with the broader citizenry, that we're not a standalone entity here. So, but I essentially was trying to get to that economic, climate resiliency, and so basically fiscal responsibility, climate resiliency, and diversity. I was trying to really focus on those 3 pieces because I kind of feel like those have been a core pillar and comments that I've heard this council speak to since we first sat down after the election.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you through you, Mayor McCabe. So this was challenging for me, and what I have is not in any way what I would consider polished or complete. And I'm a linear thinker, so I have looked at this in terms of what's the foundation, and then what would be the next step. So I put building a strong foundation of inclusivity, sustainability, and innovation through compassion and fiscal responsibility. So I just, how I blocked it out would be the community-centered piece, which is inclusivity and equity, the sustainable piece for the climate, forward-thinking, and fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. And last but certainly not least, Councillor Vasek.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get muddling into the strategic plan, if possible.
Noted.
No?
Noted.
Oh,
Yeah, noted.
okay. It's a little too soon to make
No,
the
no.
decision.
Noted. Yeah.
We'll put that in the, when you attribute, the preamble and
No, that was so 2018 to 2022. Okay, muddling our way through a new normal with bold, thoughtful, and transparent leadership by building connections across differences and by having fun. So the first chunk of it is that I think we really need to be thinking about the strategic plan with our eye to having been through the depths of COVID, and then, like Councillor Wright said, whatever we are in now. And then that's going to take more muddling and figuring things out. And this idea that I don't think that we ought to be just going back to business as usual in any aspect of our life. And I think conversations in BC right now are underway about a 4-day work week. And so I think that we're needing to think differently and fast. Whatever Councillor Wright said, the better word. And by bold, I mean, and thoughtful, I want it to be a reminder to us as a council. And I think the thing I learned most last term is that bold and thoughtful and transparent means that we aren't going to be everything to everyone, and we're going to have to make decisions that might not seem necessarily super popular, but we've considered all sorts of things: public input, expert advice, research, etc. And then I really liked vibrant communities, like what Councillor Hanmer said, which is really my building connections across differences. And by having fun is a little silly, but like we're way down from the last 3 years. And so whatever that means, and it might mean vibrant, it might mean so many things, but just like to make things we want to make things a bit lighter for people. But I liked everybody else's. 10 out of 10. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Vasek. I don't think I've laughed so much during a council meeting yet, but that's great. Thanks to everyone. I think these are really thoughtful. Obviously they're not perfect. They're not poetry, as Councillor Wright said, but I think they're really good starts. And I really appreciate hearing the thought and the process that each of you just shared. So back over to you. That's what I.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, look, I think as Mayor McCabe was saying, these are great starts, right? Like this is something that we wanted to get out of this conversation is what are some key concepts? What's really resonating with you as councillors, as mayor? And I think as one of the councillors, I think it was either Councillor Hamner or Councillor Wright mentioned that taking this and creating poetry or creating a nice sounding mission statement, that's what we'll do afterward. We'll take this away and go through that, muddle through it, if you will. We'll do that. Yes, absolutely.
Nicely done.
No problem. I will say that some of these may perhaps fall into getting into some of the vision territory. And I know that's a bit murky in terms of like vision versus mission, the why, really what you want to be as a city. But that's fine. That's fine as part of this conversation. I will say just the last thing then. So I think we're coming up just on about an hour. So as a last exercise, these are all great. Not saying there's one better than the other, but what I would like you to do is, what I would like you to do is pick your top 3. Okay, so does everyone have access to the board still, to this board? No, okay. Maybe we'll get your votes.
Maybe, do clerks have this as a Word document? Could we circulate that or make it a Google Doc?
I'm sorry, through the chair, if I could just suggest, since there are only 8 members, perhaps we could just go one by one and each person could list off their top 3 and then you could do that?
Yeah, so I can certainly do that on here.
That's easier? Okay, thanks.
If everyone's comfortable with that, I just wanted to make sure everyone's comfortable with that approach.
Can we say like we like parts of this and parts of that, or does that get a bit too
Yeah, I mean,
difficult to track.
we're gonna kind of take this away. I think we've been capturing the conversation to hear what's resonating with everyone. So it's just a quick exercise to see kind of where maybe what's perhaps standing out more and more to folks as they've heard others here. So just in the last few minutes, I just, in terms of time, just thinking that might be the best approach. But Mayor, I'll defer to you if there's
No, that's fine. I just wanted to say, no one's feelings are going to get hurt here. So we're all adults. Just say what is honestly your preferred part. So how about we start with Councillor Freeman this time?
So for me, I like comments around fiscal responsibility, whether it's economic sustainability, whatever the words are. I like comments around diversity, and it's possible that the word sustainable also captures the climate change piece. So I need that climate change piece. And then I really liked Councillor Hanmer's comment around community as opposed to city. And I also appreciated the comment that was made by Councillor Wright around that whole future ready piece. It's that looking forward piece. Whatever it looks like, it's the forward thinking piece.
Looking ahead. Okay.
Maybe it's muddling, but it is that forward thinking piece.
Super. Thank you. And we'll go over to Councillor Vasek.
Okay, I like Councillor Wright's number 1. Councillor Bodley's number 2. Councillor Roach's number 3. I like mine too, and I don't want to. I don't want to get lost like the in sort of the silliness, the COVID recovery piece. I think that's important.
Sorry, can I just? It was Councillor Bodley, Councillor Wright, and
Councillor Wright, Councillor Bodley, Councillor Roach.
Thank you.
Would it be helpful if she kind of explained what she liked about the different ones? Or I don't know if that's helpful for you.
Oh, I thought we were ranking. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we can't move forward without something about climate resiliency or whatever, climate sustainability. I think we can't move forward without thinking about inclusion, but I think we need to be more bold in our language around that this time by being more explicit about anti-racism and anti-Black racism, decolonization, etc. I think we have a duty to be fiscally responsible, and so I don't know if that needs to be in a mission statement as something that's future focused. I think it just is a given, and like I think those are the most important. Oh well, and of course, how do we build connections at this sort of divisive time? Things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could talk about this forever. I don't know.
Well, we are going to have other opportunities to talk about it, so that's great. Councillor Wright.
Through you, Chair, I think I'm going to go the Councillor Freeman route here and just highlight the things I like best, because there's a lot of repetition across these. And for sure, I know I put in my own about being future ready, but I also see that in others, about wanting to be, future focused. The boldness comes through on that. Obviously, the sustainability part is kind of baked into being future ready. So sometimes I think there's an opportunity to say things without being completely, you have more of an umbrella term or idea rather than being specific about being sustainable. But also in Councillor Hanmer's, I love the supporting our inclusive and vibrant communities. But I also agree with what Jen is saying, Councillor Vasek is saying about being kind of intentional about what that looks like from a framework point of view. So I don't know if it's all just sort of, bits and pieces from all of these, which is why we hired you.
Very good point.
Absolutely. Yes.
And thank goodness it's being recorded. Councillor Rowe.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you. So we don't have to rank them?
It's okay, yeah.
Okay,
We can
good.
just talk about concept. That's
And
okay.
I second what Councillor Wright is saying, that they are similar. And so it's hard to choose one because they all touch on, I think, very important points. So for me, it's about the vibrant communities, as Councillor Hanmer has talked about, fiscally responsible, future residents, sustainable and equity focused. So I think everybody really is reflecting the same ideas here. So I don't necessarily want to pick one out, but those are the ones those are the points that resonate with me.
Great, thank you very much. Over to you, Councillor Bodley.
Thank you. I'll rank them. I like ranking things. I'll vote for Mayor McCabe, Councillor Vasic, and Councillor Wright. Yeah, I think the thing I like about Councillor Vasic, as always with Councillor Vasic, is that it seems more easy to connect with, and it's less something you would come up with in a boardroom, I guess. Because when you come up with it in a boardroom, although that's what we're doing today, you end up getting a very sort of, I don't know, boring sort of one. So I like it. I like those elements of it. The idea around being globally recognized that Mayor McCabe put forward, I think is really good from my perspective. And the future focus piece was really important to me, and that's why I looked at Councillor Wright and Mayor McCabe's. But yeah, like everyone is saying, I think they're all sort of in the same in a very similar vein. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you for voting for mine. I appreciate that. Not that it's a competition, but I was just joking. Councillor Roach.
Thanks. It's really interesting. I think you mentioned it. Are we looking for a mission statement or a vision statement? A mission statement is sort of the what, the what and how, and can often basically serve as a roadmap, to strategic planning towards your city's vision. I think they're all really, really well done and well thought out. I really liked Jen. I really like what you had written. I like the concept, behind it. Maybe we can use some poetry to make that a little different. But I think maybe we need to really think what is a mission statement versus a vision. A vision is where we want to be. We want to, where we want to go to. So I do think putting all those words, if we could somehow summarize all those words into one great word, that would be fantastic. And I think that should be included in our mission statement.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the very last bit.
I think that if we could somehow get a word that includes all of our, our inclusion, our economic stability, our climate responsibility, or building our communities, which I really like your community statement rather than just the city. If we could find that one word, we need to be concise in a mission statement. You can't go on for a paragraph.
Right, okay, thank you, that's helpful. Councillor Hamner.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor McCabe, I was going to echo some of the similar comments, Councillor Roche. When I think of a mission statement, it's the what is it we're doing and how are we going to do it? And not quite that boring, but in sort of that way. And the vision is really more aspirational. So the concepts of globally recognized, Canada's most livable city, those kind of things, I'd like to see those in a vision, because those are aspirational for us to move forward. I'm going to follow Councillor Wright and Councillor Freeman and just give you concepts that I like, because they were embedded in everybody's really. The sustainability piece comes forward, the fiscal responsibility. If there is a way that we can come up with a word that will suit that, I think that will work as well. We've also got to remember the mission statement is a direction to staff and the community too. And so we can't, as much as we'd like to not say a whole lot, we do have to say something with it that gives a bit of a direction. I really like the future ready piece, and I think that says a lot to staff too, that we don't want to just do the same old, same old. Let's take a look and move a bit forward. And I'm glad everybody liked my vibrant communities. I must say, but I think that just gives us a different picture, and to me that also says something that's been really important to this council, and that is that we're looking for inclusion, and inclusion comes in very different ways. And if we can make our smaller communities, it could be an apartment building, it could be a small neighborhood. I think that will suit us well as also. So thank you.
So you get the gold star today, Councillor. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for those comments. I think they're really thoughtful and I think probably really helpful to Sandy and the team here. I would just echo again a lot of what people are saying around I was trying to think of something, you know, the enjoy, like that you don't just live here, but you enjoy it here, right? And you want to come here not just because you could, you know, have a great career and have a, you know, relatively affordable house of whatever that looks like, but also, you know, you're drawn to here to come here, or as someone studying here to stay here because you enjoy the life that you have or you're going to build here. So. And whether vibrant communities probably captures that the best. And I think it's important, the economic piece in there as well, because we do want to send a message that, you know, again, it's a great place to work as well as a great place to live. But yeah, I did put globally or future focus, but I think future ready is probably more accurate, really. So. Yeah, so I think, and of course, the sustainability piece, as everyone said, is really critical for us, and I think for a lot of our residents and certainly staff. So with that, I guess it's back to you again, and see what you can how you can muddle through this to come
Absolutely.
up with one or two sentences.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Yeah. So just to close this off. So again, thank you all for all your input here. This has been very, very helpful, obviously, for us, and hopefully you found it a good exercise as well. I will just mention, I've heard a few comments, obviously, yes, absolutely. Some of these are a bit more aspirational, but more vision focused. And that is the next conversation we're going to have. I think between now and then, I'll pass off to Sandy in a second just to talk about next steps. But, you know, we will go through these. We will develop that poetry, if you will. I don't want to give us that much credit, but the conciseness, I'll put it that way, to get to a good statement. I think we've captured a lot of great input here. And, you know, we'll make sure that we're bringing back something which, you know, you can all take a look at and really work through it and really, you know, take forward. So with that, I just want to thank you, Mayor, councillors, for having me here, for having us here today, and looking forward to our next conversation. And I'll pass it back over to Sandy just to close us off.
Thank you very much to you, Hamai, and to Zine, and of course to Sandy. And just before Sandy speaks, I'd say I think, you know, we've been here for about 100 days nearly now as new council, but as the new council term, and there's a lot of business that we've already done, but this is the really, I think, I mean, it's all very interesting, important, but this is, I think just talking about strategic planning and this kind of work really is, I would guess, what kind of drove a lot of us to want to end up on council. So yeah, this is really the fun stuff, and really, so thank you. So great job so far.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Really quickly, in terms of some next steps, as Hamai indicated, Deloitte, including Tassine and Sarah Lewis, who couldn't be here today, will take a lot of this back, and we'll present it as part of the draft strategic plan. That will be tabled with Council on May 8th. So that's the goal right now, with the final strategic plan coming back to Council for approval at the end of June. The next kind of stage will be the scan summary report. So that will include a summary of all the engagement that's taken place to date. So Council can look forward to that in the coming weeks. So again, thank you very much. It's amazing to see all of the alignment that happens amongst 8 people, but to see that alignment of those major themes is really a testament to this council. So we're going to take that away, and as Hamai indicated, magic will happen, and we'll come forward with something. We look forward to the next council workshop on March 20th.
Thank you. Hamai's going to come up with that one word. So we just need a motion, or sorry, a mover and a seconder to accept this report as information. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Freeman and seconded by Councillor Bassick. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And just before we recess, Council, just to note that we are going to be streaming live. It sounds like the weather outside is is not great. So if people were thinking they might come here tonight to be in council chambers, just so you know, it's also going to be streaming live on YouTube as well. So we just want people to, pay attention to what's happening in council chambers, but also be safe as well. So, and if you are coming in here, please travel safely. And do we need a motion to adjourn? No. Okay. So council will recess now and reconvene at 6:30. Thank you, everyone.